So what I would do lots of times when I do like something like this, I'll do like 3 or 4 different designs and then submit them. Okay. And then they'll pick one, or they'll pick the, for some strange reason, they always pick the worst one. You make like 3 or 4 really cool one, and you'll make one that's just kind of simple, and they always pick that one. I don't know. It's just, you're like, I wanted this covered, but whatever. Okay, as long as you're happy. Okay, so let's copy this. And let's move it over to the other side. Oh, I forgot to copy. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and drag and make a copy like that. And then I think I want to make this text smaller. So I'm going to double click and I'm going to set this to 75 pixels, 75 points. Okay, that's good. Let's move it up. That looks good, something like that. Now on the back cover, I'm going to have Lorem Ipsum. I'm not going to have, you don't have to actually write anything. So I'm going to grab my type tool. I'm going to click and make a type container. And then I'm going to set the size of the font to say 14 point. Okay, click commit. Now I'm going to click commit. Actually, that's still kind of big. Let's set it to 12. Okay. And I think I can use that font for the paragraph of text. Now, what I want to show you is something called Lorem Ipsum. And Lorem Ipsum, let's go up to the website. Anytime you need, so the idea with Lorem Ipsum is when you need LoremIpsum.com. Boom. Okay.
Oh, your screen didn't change.
Oh, let me change it. Okay. Let me type it in this way. Let me do a search. It's one site, but I always forget its name. But it's Lorem Ipsum is here. It is Lorem Ipsum generator. Okay, here it is. And you'll see that there's a bunch of Lorem Ipsum generators. LIPSUM, and I'll put a link to this. So what is Lorem Ipsum? Lorem Ipsum is simply dummy text of the printing and typesetting industry. So lots of times you'll be copying out a document and the final content isn't available. And if you just type A, B, 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 C, 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 or something like that, it doesn't look readable English. Lorem Ipsum has been the industry standard dummy text ever since the 1500s. When an unknown printer took a galley of type and scrambled it to make a type specimen book. It has survived not only centuries, but also the leap into electronic typesetting, remaining essentially unchanged. It was popularized in the 1960s with the release of letter set sheets, say that 10 times fast, containing Lorem Ipsum passages, and more recently, the desktop publishing software like Altus PageMaker, including a version of Lorem Ipsum. So if you just take a paragraph of text like out of a newspaper and drop it into your document and show it to your client, they're going to start reading it and they're going to be like, why are you talking about, gas prices in my artwork? So the idea with this is that it comps out text on the screen, and sometimes people call it Greek, but it's really Latin. Okay, so when I come up here and I select this text, I can come down here and I can say generate Lorem Ipsum, and it looks like you're reading real text, even though it's really Latin. So I'm going to select this and copy it, right click and copy. And so lots of times, hopefully you're not typing in Photoshop. Hopefully what you'll do is I can take content from a Word document and copy and paste that in, or copy and paste Lorem Ipsum in, especially paragraph text. So I'm going to select that, paste that in. And then if I see a little plus down in the corner, that means there's more text that's not being viewed.
You're not sharing the
I'm
other
not sharing
part.
my screen. My bad. Let me go back and make sure that you guys see what I'm doing. All right. So what I did was I went to Lorem Ipsum and I copied 2 paragraphs of text. Then I went to Photoshop and I grabbed my type tool and I clicked inside of that type container. Remember, there's type containers and then there's just planting a word or a line. I just plant it. When I want a paragraph of text, I make a paragraph container, and then I'll paste that in. And I think I'll just use this one paragraph here. And I'll move this down. Okay, let's move this down too. Let's move this up. Right, so now I've got my back cover kind of laid out, and then we're going to copy over by Frank Herbert. So let's right click on that. Let's make a copy of that. Let's drag it over. And probably make that a little bit smaller too. Let's go to 36, and then let's center it. So the cool thing is Photoshop has these guides that come in and drop down and help you line things up. And so usually you want everything to be lined up with something. I mean, that's really right click on by, and let's copy that. Let's move that over and let's center that, and let's make that smaller. Yeah, let's set it to 18. Let's do this one. Let's go to 24. Okay. And let's move that over. Okay. So now we've kind of got our layout. So I think I want to move this up a little bit. All right. I don't want to get too stuck in the weeds here. Move this up a little bit. Let's use more than one paragraph. Okay. There we go. Okay. So that looks pretty good. So now I can start dressing it up. So I'm going to go down, and we've got this layer here, and I'm going to go back to that folder, and I downloaded this watercolor paper. Let's double click and open that. And let's use that as a texture. So I'm going to go to select all, edit copy. I'm going to come over here to the Doom book cover, and I'm going to go down to the layer with the, oh, that's my finished one. I'm going to come down here to my layer, and I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to choose edit and paste that paper in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to free transform and edit, free transform. And I'm just going to kind of, let's turn off the constrained proportions. Let's just stretch it out, something like this. Let's zoom out, control minus. Track that out, fit like that, something like that. I'm just going to use this for flavor, and then I'll go in and I'll use a blending mode with it. Let's see, what can do something kind of interesting. And then I'll lower its opacity. Yeah, so that didn't work, but that's the kind of thing that I might want to try to do. So I'm going to throw that away. Instead, I'm just going to copy this layer, and I'm going to go up and go to adjustments, and I could use a filter. Let's try a filter gallery. Let's try something on there. Let's do the poster edges and click OK. And then I'm going to lower the opacity of the top layer. So I'm blending those two together, right? And then I could paint on it. So let's grab my paintbrush. And you can download special brushes. So there's like watercolor brushes and real media brushes and wet media brushes. So I can go in there, I can grab brushes. I'm trying to look at some of the ones that you guys will probably have. I think I've downloaded a bunch of special brushes. Legacy brushes. Let's see here, stop. And the idea is to kind of just, let's grab that brush and kind of paint into this. Right, so I can kind of scuff this up and make it look interesting, right? So this computer's running really slow with the brush here. and take that layer and kind of fade it back a little bit. It's really slow. Let's see if I can. Okay. And then what I did was I found a piece of artwork. Now it was a WebP file. So what I did was, generally when you go to the web, you're going to find JPEGs and GIFs and stuff like that. And then I went up and I grabbed this file as a WebP. So when I tried to open it in Illustrator, in Photoshop, it wouldn't let me. So what I did was I just copied it directly from the internet. I went up to the internet, I typed in Dune, I found the image, and I right-clicked and copied and pasted it directly into Photoshop. But what I did here was I saved it as a PSD,